One of the biggest conversations we've had in the last few days has to do with whether or not to reshuffle. There are growing calls for the president to reshuffle his government, his ministers. The president had a verdict last few days, which has prompted us to have a bigger conversation. So we're going to talk about reshuffling government at the time of crisis. What are the basics? And I'll explain to you quickly what we mean by the basics. Now, let's just go through a few things. When it comes to right now where we are, the president started off his first term, as you remember, with 126 ministers. It's unprecedented, but he had a reason. We'll come to his reasons for this. And then in second term, this number reduced to 86. That is, it's in his second term. So there's this huge government he was already running. But this was his reason back in 2017. It says, quote, "It is a necessary investment to make for the rapid transformation of this country." So that was the president's own reason for having this huge size of government. The question to ask now, where we are currently, is does the current number and the current composition justify, does it bear him out? What he says here is a necessary statement to make for a rapid transformation of this country. Have you seen that rapid transformation that the president was saying? Listen, it's the reason why I have the huge numbers. I trust in them because they're going to bring us rapid transformation. In fact, the president also went ahead to say that in essence, the end will justify the means. He says, "I'm the man in a hurry." Do you remember those words? And I believe it is this government, the size, will deliver. And so judge, you remember him saying that, judge the outcome. Let you focus on the outcome, and the outcome will justify the number. The question to us tonight is, you've seen part of the outcome tonight. Does that justify the numbers we have? He said, "I still trust that core team." And he gave a verdict a few days back. But there's something else he's done, though, in his first and second terms. If you look at the ministries, right, that he has, according to the presidency own website, he had 36 ministries. Second term reduced to 28. He had realigned 7 of them and abolished 1. These were the realigned ones, right? We have the aviation ministry, business development, inner city zongo development, the monitoring and evaluation. That is a very important one. Remember that. That was brought in, we're told, to keep the ministers on their toes. And that the monitoring and evaluation, I remember doing an interview with the minister who was in charge then, and he said that was going to be one of the bases. His report, Dr. Antonia Kutose, he told me that his reports would inform the president at cabinet when it comes to decision whether to reshuffle, take some out and bring new ones in. That ministry is no longer there, but it begs the question, the president's first term, he didn't reshuffle. And it rarely happened in the Fourth Republic for a president to go through the entire first term and do very little minor reshuffle. So question is it that in that first 4 years, Dr. Antonia Couture says monitoring and evaluation of these ministers came out with sterling A all the time, saying they were all doing well, for which reason the president kept all of them. That ministry is even more needed today, but isn't there anymore. But I must argue that I think the people of the Republic are the ultimate monitors and evaluators of this current government. And we'll tell you a poll we ran just before the show, just to try and sample what you are thinking along the right lines of reshuffle or not, to see if your monitoring and evaluation will lead to a verdict of a reshuffle. And we also saw a reorganization and development ministry that we know has been realigned, special development initiative to gone. He abolished the office of the senior minister. According to the president, all these special purpose ministries have achieved their purpose, the purposes for which they were established in 2017. This was in 2021, after he won the second term, giving him sort of assessing his own last 4 years. And he says, they've achieved their aim. Now, you come to the new kid on the block, which is the Minister for Public Enterprises. And that also was established to try and, beef up the public enterprises. The president on the reshuffle question was an interesting one. And let's go back and understand where this reshuffle conversation came from. The first organized attempt to get the president to reshuffle, I say organized, came from within the MPP's own ranks. There's a group that has been formed of the MPP foot soldiers. It's an alliance of MPP foot soldiers. On Facebook, they have a membership of 5,000 people. They held a press conference, and many of them activists of the party. They held a press conference asking the president to reshuffle his government. And their reason was simple. Because of the current economic challenges, they believe fresh minds will bring new ideas that could then restore hope and bring confidence back and get Ghanaians back on the president's side going forward. That was the first organized demand, and that was last week. We've had individuals making those same calls. Remove the finance minister has been one, but organized, it came from within the party. But the president had an answer to all that. One of the things he said is that, and this is the president's verdict, is that his ministers have been outstanding. This was just speaking 48 hours ago in the northern region. It says the NDC had made calls to, and that their calls is to destabilize the government. In fact, his point is others who are making the calls, they are jobless, they want jobs, and that is why the call is being made. But this outstanding bit is the key thing. So the president is saying, after 7 years in government, 6 years plus, almost 7 years in government, my ministers have been outstanding, right? In the second term, they have been. Do you agree with him? We'll come to my guest shortly. So we need to ask the question. So if this is the president's rating of his ministers, what do the indicators say? The indicators that anybody will use to judge a government's performance. What really do they say? Do they, give the president, approve of the president's own rating? One of the first things you look at, and we've seen that recently, what the international ratings agency are saying about your economy, because they will really look hard at you and tell you what it is that is happening in your economy. When he came in, Moody's had us at B- in 2016. Now, junk status triple C in 2022. S&P had us at B- in 2017 when he came in. Now we are triple C plus again, same junk status. Fitch, obviously, we saw that happen, today. B, then in 2017, again, triple C. So if you're taking just the rating agency's verdict on us, they will disagree that the performance has been outstanding. That's one. And then you also look at the other indicators. I'm using economic indicators because of the current circumstances we are in the economy. Inflation was 12.4%. Now we are 31.7%. Exchange rate, 1:4 CD, 42 pesos when he came in. Now we are at 8 CD, 82 pesos. And this, by the way, is Bank of Ghana telling us this. If you go to the market, you find it, some even quoting up to 9, right? More than 9 CDs. Import cover, it used to be 4.3 months import cover. Now we have 3.4 months import cover. Debt to GDP ratio was 68.7 when it came in. Now it's 78.3%. So if you're using economic indicators, that will show that there's a disagreement there with what the president says about the outstanding nature. So what do you say? Therefore, having seen some of the indicators, should there be a reshuffle or not? We put up a poll on our social media pages, and this is a Joy News one, and it is on Twitter. Should the president reshuffle his ministers? And yes or no simply was what you're supposed to tell us. If you look at it closely, you'll find that reshuffle is 88.4%. 88.4% of you tell us that the president should reshuffle. Only 11.6% of you say he should not reshuffle. So for that, social media poll, we're not saying it's scientific. It just gives you a sense of what people are thinking along this. And then there's a second poll we did, which is the question about the president's own verdict, right? We asked, do you agree with the president on his ministers being outstanding when he said they are outstanding? Do you agree? Yes is 8.2%. 8.2% say they agree with the president's assessment. No, 91.8% said no, they disagree with the president. So this is just giving you a sense of what members of the public are thinking as reflected in the social media poll. My guests are joining me. One of the things we'll do tonight, and they know this, some of them have been there close to government, they've taken decisions to reshuffle before. It's about the governance relevance of a reshuffle. And I want to open up the conversation a bit more. What do you consider in reshuffling? Is there a correlation between a reshuffle and the government performance? Is there automatic that the president reshuffles, somehow all of a sudden we'll have better plans to solve our current economic crisis? And what do you consider in doing so? And do they agree that the current economic circumstances requires a reshuffle? Franklin Kujo is my guest. He's in the studio with me. Also joining us is a former Chief of Staff. We have two Chief of Staffs. One served under President Kufuor himself, the overall boss. That's in Kujo Pini, will join us via Zoom. And then we have a second Chief of Staff. He was a Deputy Chief of Staff under former President Mills, a good friend of mine, long time no see indeed. Alex Segbefia is joining me. Hello, Alex. Long time no see. I like your beard. What happened to the beard? You look angelic with the beard.
I'm protesting the economy.
Okay. We'll hear Alex's view. Alex was a Deputy Chief of Staff. Oh, and that's another good friend of mine, Professor Bafo Ejimendria. And he is going to give us the governance side of this. I really wonder, is it a governance tool that you can deploy a reshuffle? And really, let's call it the anatomy of a reshuffle. What is it really? He'll give us his thoughts when we return from this quick break. I'm looking forward to this conversation. These people know what they're doing. Imani, I must mention, used to rate the ministries. And so they have some basic mechanisms and variables that they've looked at in their past, issuing very controversial reports anytime they did. I want to tap into that. And that's why Franklin is here. Join me after the break.